Hello and welcome to the SML podcast. This is SML Total Access, the number one podcast on the SML network. I'm your host, Primetime000, and with me today is my trusted co-host, ZZ the Great. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on, Prime? What's going on?
Oh, it's nearing playoff time in SML, so it's exciting time. Obviously, I get fired up for the playoffs. Seating's tight, games are tight. A lot can happen in a short amount of time. So I think we should just go ahead and get right into the seeding of the AFC and the NFC. There's still some
Yes.
playoff spots up for grabs, I would say, especially over there in
hmm
the AFC. NFC, there's a little more of a gap, I would say. What do you think?
Um, Looking into the playoffs. Last week we talked about this, and there was a bit of a log jam in the bottom of the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we have Cleveland Browns sitting at the eighth spot with the Jets at the. I don't know if they played for this week, but the Jets and the Browns sitting at 7 and 8, right outside the box. And the Jaguars, the guy that you said that would make the playoffs this year, has seemingly looked like he's going to be either if he continues his win streak, he's going to either solidify that sixth spot or move up one.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of take a dig at you here. I
Yes.
said Jacksonville. This guy's won five in a row. I said he was going to beat Rolls Royce, and look what's happened, man. I'm Nostradamus to the SML right now. This guy is legit. What's it going to take for the Jags to do for you to believe in Jacksonville?
Well, I mean, he's winning. I mean, that's what it's going to take. It's going
Yeah.
to take for him to consistently win. And only reason, I remember that podcast where we talked about all this, and I was saying because I had beat him, and I had seen a couple other guys beat him.
Hmm.
That was, and I didn't think that he might be, um, game. But I mean, and I think this kind of correlates to another guy in the NFC, which we'll talk about later. That I mean, you never know when you're gonna get the best football out of some of these guys, man. Like I say,
Hmm.
SML is full of great players, and when somebody hits that stride, then that's when they excel. But you never know what's kind of gonna happen.
Yeah.
But Jags is a great player, and obviously he's showing everybody.
What I've seen from Jacksonville, and I think this is a fair thing to say, and he would agree with, in the first two seasons, he obviously made the AFC Championship year one, and then year
hmm
two he kind of dropped off. And he looks at guys' records, I feel like, in lesser competition he feels, and he maybe takes a game off, and then he takes the loss. Then he'll turn around. I see he's beat Meats before. He's beat myself twice. So he's a good player. I think he just needs to kind of dial it in. We see people like Meats who really never take games off, and it shows at his record. I think
Yes.
to get Jacksonville to that next level, he's going to just need to give it 100% every game, and he'll be a perennial playoff contender. But like you said, really, it's between the Jags, Jets, and Browns. The Jags have the tiebreaker over the Jets, so I think it's between the Cleveland Browns and Jacksonville Jaguars. And a side note there, if the Browns do make it, that's three teams from the AFC North.
And again, we just to point out, we are saying that the last year Super Bowl contender is not going to make the playoffs this year.
It's amazing, and it shows. Royce started off the cycle slow, seemed like he got hot, and now back to 8-5. That competition in the AFC is stiff. I know there was a debate early on, AFC versus NFC, but looking at the records and the teams, I think AFC is way tougher.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can make an argument for that because I mean there is some stiff competition, man. And just to go back for the Jags to be where he is, and he is in a very tough division with you and Phil out there. It's just pretty impressive.
Right. So looking over the NFC, what do you think about the seedings over there? It looks like I think the playoff spots are pretty much in place. It's just where they're going to end up seeding wise. I guess what I mean by that is Eagles are in the playoffs, but are they going to get a bye week? Are they going to win their division? Because the Redskins are right there winning the division. And
Yes.
Grams is 2 games out. Really don't see him making it.
Yeah, yeah. It looks like it's pretty much locked up over there. Like Mike is going to make his second playoff appearance, and another item I like to point out: the Tampa Bay Bucs, man, moving to 10-3. This is another guy that last year he fell off the map, man. He was just like, the first year we were like, this is a good player.
Mm-hmm.
He made the playoffs. He pretty much destroyed our division. And the second year he came in, he lost a few games, man, and he went on a dive, man, and it seemed like he wasn't the same player. And I don't know if this has to do with the updates and the way Madden kind of changes gameplay, and if you don't adapt, you kind of fall off. So it's a bit strange, but playing the Bucs 2 times a year, he has a great passing game. The guy's dialed in. He's one of the better passers in the league, and he's shown that, man. He's 10-3. He's right there in the fourth spot. He's definitely making the playoffs, and he's definitely going to win our division.
He's a great player, like you said, no overlord, great player. We've got some tough guys over there in the NFC. I know I did say the AFC, I believe is better, but Future
Yeah.
Empire 11-1-1 this year, really taking a hold
Yes.
of the NFC. He actually just recently had a tie. And then obviously Oshi's still there. Gov hasn't been as impressive this year, but he's still 10-3. Do you think?
Yes.
I know we got some big matchups coming up between the Chiefs and Ravens. We've got the Eagles and the Redskins coming up this week. We've got
Yes.
the Patriots bus driver against the Bucks. I mean, that's all this week. Is there
Yeah.
any? What do you think about that? Kind of a lot of playoff previews. Just kind of leading
Yeah.
up to it. What do you think about that? Who do you think is going to win a bye week between the Ravens and the Chiefs?
I think just that poll in itself shows just where the league is right now, because those are some great matchups, man. There's like four matchups, and the poll showed that guys are kind of split on which game. Because I voted for the Bucks Steelers. I kind of wanted to see that. I wanted to see the Steelers again, and see how he matches up against the Bucks and Noel. These are guys that haven't really got a lot of attention, and it's good to see more football from them. But with Meats versus Haas this week being the big game, that's gonna be great. That's gonna be awesome. We get to see Haas' new passing game, because he loves to run.
Right.
But he's developing, he's learned to play with the Chiefs, and I think he's got him to the point to where he can actually push these guys into the playoffs. And with Meats, the game he had last week versus the Steelers, and the way he handed it to the Steelers that week,
Mm-hmm.
because we commentated that game,
Mm-hmm.
and but that game was it was a blowout, man. Meats put it on him, man, and it's gonna be good to see how Meats matches up against Haas, and because I think these guys are on equal levels right now.
I would agree with that statement. Kind of switching gears now to
Hmm.
the other end of the spectrum, the guys who aren't doing so good in the SML. And I kind of want to talk about this from an SML perspective than the NFL, but let's go first with the SML tanking. Now,
Yes.
you can never really confirm if a guy's tanking or not. You can kind of get a hunch. But what do you think about tanking when playing Madden or in a league? And what's your thoughts on it?
My thoughts on taking is this: I don't understand it because I can't do it. It's for me. It's hard. It would take everything in me to literally sit down, turn on Madden, get into a game, and purposely lose. Now
Mm-hmm.
I can understand. I mean, I do see and I do understand that maybe the guys ain't giving it their all. They're
Yeah.
lackadaisical. They're trying new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to figure some things out, and I get that. I mean, that's kind of what losing teams do in real life. You get
Mm-hmm.
out there and hey man, we want to see why we're losing, so let's let's try some new stuff,
Yes.
and that happens. But to purposely manipulate the game and to like, okay, um, you know, you're up 7 points and you get a first down and you're at the 2 minute warning and you don't run the ball, you start passing, or if you're, or you think, or you don't, or you're not taking timeouts when
Yeah.
you do need the ball back. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's weird, and I think that's a bit unfair to everybody.
Right, and I've seen obviously they're not taking time. I kind of seen a little bit of it all, or you're down by 10 points in the fourth and they're running it, and in situations they shouldn't be running it, stuff like that.
Yes.
And I think you made a good point where it's one thing if you're out of the playoffs and you want to try some new plays, try some new runs, and you're just getting smoked because of it, but you're still trying. And then there's the
Yes.
other side of it where it's just kind of it's such a loser's mentality, and you're probably not going to win a Super Bowl if you have that mentality ever. Because to me, it just looks like you're just hoping that you're going to have a good draft pick and maybe get something to propel you over the top. And the issue isn't the player you're going to draft; it's the player who's behind the thumbsticks, and that's the issue. Because like if
Yes, yes,
you
that's
have
what it boils down
you
to.
have such a weak mentality that you're thinking this one player is going to make a difference in the top end of the draft, and that's not going to happen. You're never going to win like that.
It's
So
well, I think what we're talking about and overall, and this just does not go for tanking. It goes for AI manipulation, all that. This micro kind of like trying to get that extra edge by manipulating certain items. That's where things go off the rail. That's where you're screwing up in the SML. That's the stuff we want to cut out.
right.
So yeah, I think that's where that's like the borderline, and that kind of like encompasses it all. The fact that if you're trying to manipulate the game in any kind of way, whether it's even tanking on purpose and making sure you lose,
Mhm.
then I don't think that's beneficial for anybody.
And following up on that, I don't really think it's that big of an issue here. I think you would probably agree
Oh
with
no.
that. Like,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I've seen online or I've seen in group me some guys post about other leagues or other scenarios where it happens. What do you think about it in the NFL? Would you, if you're a general manager, would you kind of err
that
towards?
would that to me, man, I think it's harder in the NFL to actually tank. I mean, we suspect it in a lot of teams sometimes, but man, to get 52 guys out there to say, "Hey, we're gonna give up," after all that work that they're putting in, I
Mhm.
think that's a very hard sell. And I can't imagine any organization would ever instruct their players to tank. And I think it would be hard to communicate that if that's what everybody wanted to do.
Yeah, I don't think you could really pull it off. Like you said, communicate that, especially when
Yeah.
the average length of a career is 3 years. So a lot of these guys who are on a bad team are going to be playing for a job somewhere
Yes.
else. They turn on the tape and
Yes.
this dude's taking off plays. It's not going to look good. So
Yes.
I
Yeah.
can agree with, but I think if they did tank, what they would do is pull an experienced quarterback for just a bum, and just that
Yeah.
would be how they would do it. I would guess.
Yeah. That would be obvious. But it's kind of obvious
It's
at that
obvious.
point.
It's obvious, and I think I've seen it. There's rumors that the Colts did that to get the luck, the whole suck for luck thing. So I'm sure it does happen. It happens in
Yeah.
basketball. I've seen teams in the NBA do it as well, where they
Yeah.
just gut their teams. But kind of switching gears for our
Hmm.
barbershop talk segment here.
Yes.
Is Tom Brady? He's obviously the greatest quarterback of all time, in my opinion. You hear the rumors swirling, him leaving New England to go somewhere else next year. What's your thoughts on that?
Is Tom Brady going to leave New England to go somewhere else and play football? Hell to no. Just my opinion. My opinion is hell no. There's no way. I don't think Tom Brady's that type of guy that he's going to risk his reputation and everything he's built to this point to go and be proven that he can't win without Belichick. I don't think and especially at this age, if he went somewhere else, he went to Denver or anywhere else that they're saying that he might go, and he goes there and he or Tennessee, and he goes there and he fucking sucks, and they lose, and they go, and he has a negative record for one of the first time in many years. I think that would say like way too much about him, and that's a chance to ruin his legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, I do believe that he's going to come back next year. I think he's going to definitely come back next year, win or lose. A lot of people say is whether he wins or loses or not, but I think even if he does win, he might try one or two more years, regardless.
I do think that, and it's interesting that you say that because if he did come back to somewhere like Tennessee, they have the connection with Mike Vrabel,
Hmm.
and he does just fall flat on his face. I mean, the guy's 40, what, three? He's gonna be 43 next year. He falls
Yes.
flat. I mean, the decline is gonna happen at some point. But so many people would say, "Oh, well, there you go. It was
Yep.
Belichick the whole time." And really, it's like,
Yep.
well, he's gonna fall at some point. It is interesting you
Yep.
say that because that's what would happen.
That's
Uh,
exactly what would happen. I think both of them are going to leave when the other one leaves. They're not gonna let anybody see what they do by themselves.
I do think that something enticing is you hear about. I've heard this rumor, this scenario painted out. Let's say Dak leaves Dallas, and Tom Brady
Hmm.
goes to Jerry's World in
Mm.
Dallas, and takes the Cowboys, who for whatever reason they suck, but they should be good. The Cowboys, they have all the talent there. Let's say they get a new head coach, Josh
Yes.
McDaniels goes over to Dallas, becomes a head coach. Coach the Cowboys. Tom Brady goes over there, becomes a quarterback. He's got Zeke. He's got some solid receivers. He's got Cooper. Defense is solid, should be
Mm.
solid, and that could be dangerous. And Brady could all of a sudden, even if he doesn't win a Super Bowl, just dominate. I think he would prove I don't know, taking the Cowboys back to some sign of greatness. That'd be interesting. But I don't think that.
That
Go on.
yeah. No, I was gonna say that would be freaking awesome. I mean, I think that would be one of his biggest like achievements, and it would that would be the safest thing for him to do. Like if he went to Dallas or
Hmm.
somewhere like that, something that's already built in
Yes.
and ready for him. I mean, you have great receivers, running backs, everything that you need. So and a great offensive line to boot. So yeah, that would be one of the safest moves he probably could make if he were to do that.
And you're
But
right. I don't see it happening. I mean, it would be
yeah,
nice in a dome, and then I mean, their head coach is on the way out, so Josh
yes.
McDaniels put him in. The Patriots, obviously, offensive coordinator, stick him in. It would
Can
be
you
interesting.
imagine him and Jerry freaking fighting and
Oh
after every
Lord, it
fucking
would be something.
game?
Brady would be at his neck. It is like you said. I do think he comes back, plays another a year to two. And the thing
Yeah.
about legends, we've seen it with Vinatieri this year. We've seen it with Peyton Manning. We've seen it with Michael Jordan, Kobe
Hmm.
Bryant. We've seen it with every freaking legend, other than like Barry Sanders. They
Yes.
always stay a year or two too long. It always
It
happens.
happens.
So I'm honestly going to be a little upset to see Tom Brady suck at football. I mean, it'll be weird to see because this guy's been a beast for 20 years. It truly will be the end of an era when Tom Brady is no longer good at football. The end of an era because right now the quarterback situation in the NFL, while many people hype it up with Patrick Mahomes, I don't think it's as bright as many people say. The consistency isn't quite there.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you look back into the past and some of the great champions, Joe Montana, Elway, and some of these guys that have I mean, even if you look at Dan Marino and the Dolphins never winning the championship, those quarterbacks to me are pinnacle quarterbacks. Those are the guys that I look at and that's what a quarterback is. And you're right. I don't see that in today's talent. It's not there like that. But we are building something. It's just different. I think it's kind of the same thing in the way the NBA kind of changed and the way that basketball is played differently now. And so football is starting to be played different. I mean, with these RPOs and the way and the type of guys you're putting in the backfield, the Lamar Jacksons, the Deshaun Watsons, and the Patrick Mahomes. I mean, we're creating a new NFL.
That's a good point, and I guess that leads me to one final question of barbershop talk. Then
Yes.
is Lamar Jackson the future of the NFL?
Yeah, I think guys like Lamar are the future of the NFL. I think that kind of run slash doing it all type quarterback is the new way is the new wave, and the NFL is going to change because of it. Just like I correlated it to the NBA and how it's more athletic. The NBA is getting smaller now,
Mm-hmm.
because they want quicker guys and to be able to move the ball faster and to keep the pace up. So just like it turned into a shooting gallery. Now, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
people used to say, I remember not too long ago, people were saying that the NBA wasn't that exciting because all people did was drive to the rim. And now they're saying it's losing its excitement because nobody drives to the rim and dunks no more.
Mm-hmm.
It's all shots. So and I think in similar fashion, the NFL is changing in that way. It's changing to a more, especially with protecting the quarterback the way we do, the new penalty system. You're able to review freaking um, PI calls and all kind of stuff. This is all geared towards making the offense feel more comfortable and able to do more.
Uh, I'm going to disagree in the sense of Lamar Jackson,
Yes.
especially Lamar being the future of the NFL, just because I feel like I've seen this road when the Andrew Luck RG3 came out, and neither was the future of the NFL, but especially Robert Griffin, who's actually backing up Lamar Jackson. I feel like Lamar Jackson is very similar uh, to RG3 or what he was coming out. RG3, I think, was even a better passer coming out. And I
Mm-hmm.
just, that play style where Lamar runs it or RPO or whatever it is, the
Mm-hmm.
amount of hits they take, how can you sustain that over a 10 to 12-year career? And I know the driving the quarterback down to the ground is
Yes.
kind of getting removed from the game a little bit, but he's still putting his body out there and like a running back. And I'm not comparing him to a running back in the sense that he can't throw, but running backs only last till age 30, then they start slowing down. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to need to see somebody like an Aaron Rodgers type or Mahomes, who he's a scrambler, but he's still really a
Pass first.
drop back pass first. And I'm still not sold that Lamar can be a pass first guy if he sprains an ankle or two, and you take away that dimension of his game if he can still lead his team to 300 yards passing when they know he can't run. I need to see that out of Lamar Jackson
Yeah,
to think he's a future.
I have not seen, I mean, games yet that where they prove that they can shut down the pass game either with Lamar Jackson. I mean, with his ability to scramble and that fear every time that he hikes the ball that he could take off has opened up the passing
Yes.
lanes for him. And we saw this with Mike Vick and like you said with RG3 and that kind of thing. But I don't think it's ever actually been successfully implemented. And I think we're on the cusp of that implementation.
It could be. It's interesting to see. The only thing we can do is sit down on our couch, grab a beer, grab a Coke,
Yes.
grab a chocolate milk, and see if Lamar Jackson will last and be the next great dynasty in Baltimore. Time will tell. SML dynasties are being built. This is SML Total Access, the place to be. Apply today. SimMaddenLeague.com. ZZ, I'll let you close this out.
Hey man, just don't drink that beer and that chocolate milk at the same time, fellas. That'll give you the heebie-jeebies. But hey, SML man, another total access. You guys are doing great. The SML is the best place to play. Follow us on Twitter. We got our website, Sim Madden League. Man, if you're listening to this and you want to join, look us up. Put in an application. We need some guys for our primer league. We have another league called the primer where you can get in and you can test your skills and eventually be elevated up into the SML, one of the greatest places to play. So come on down, see what we got.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Take it easy.